For over 50 years, Japan had two emperors at once, not a pretender in exile, two complete courts. One held the sacred regalia, the other held the capital. Both of them granted land. Both of them named the year. How does a country end up with two of the one thing it can only have one of? In 1331, an emperor tried to take his own government back. Real power sat in Kamakura with the Hojo regents and had for over a century. Emperor Go-daigo raised troops against them. He lost and was exiled to a small island in the northern sea. He escaped. The island was called Oki. Emperors had been sent there before, and none of them had come back. In 1333, the commander sent to finish him changed sides. Ashikaga Takauji turned on Kamakura. The Hojo fell. Go-daigo walked back into Kyoto to rule directly. A provincial warrior named Kusunoki Masashige had already held a mountain fort against them for months. It lasted 3 years. He rewarded courtiers and temples, and gave almost nothing to the warriors who had won the war. In 1336, Takauji marched on Kyoto and took it. And here the story stops behaving like an ordinary rebellion. Takauji did not claim the throne. He needed an emperor to make his government lawful, so he took one from the other branch of the imperial family, because there were two branches, and they had been taking turns for 60 years. An old agreement, brokered by Kamakura, alternated the throne between two lines of the same house. Takauji simply enthroned the candidate from the branch Go-daigo had displaced, and had a retired emperor confirm him. On paper, it was legal. Go-daigo did not surrender. He walked out of Kyoto into the mountains of Yoshino, carrying the sword, the mirror, and the jewel that made an emperor an emperor. Then he announced that the regalia he had handed over in Kyoto were copies. Now two men held the title, and each one could point to a procedure. Two courts is an abstraction. Here is what it meant on the ground. Each court named its own era, so the same day carried two different dates. A document written in Kyoto in the third year of one era was, in Yoshino, the second year of another. Each court appointed officials, granted rank, and confirmed who owned what. That last one is the whole war. For a warrior family, the document that said your land was yours came from an emperor. Now, there were two emperors issuing them, and the two sets did not agree. Legitimacy stopped being a belief and became a service. Lose a claim at one court, and you could take the same claim to the other. A commander who was losing could change allegiance and have his enemies declared rebels by morning. This is why the war would not end. The Southern Court lost battle after battle and refused to disappear, because there was always someone whose local quarrel was better served by the other emperor's seal. Then the pattern turned on the men who invented it. In 1350, the Ashikaga split against itself. Takauji and his brother went to war, and his brother submitted to the Southern Court to make his own rebellion lawful. Within a year, Takauji did the same thing. Takauji himself now submitted to the emperor in the mountains, and let his own court be abolished so that he could call his brother a rebel. For a few months in 1351, by the paperwork, there was only one emperor in Japan again. He was in Yoshino. The Southern Court was meanwhile becoming something stranger than a government. Go-daigo died in 1339 in the mountains, still claiming the throne. His son continued. They held a valley, a few fortresses, and the regalia. Their capital was a temple town in the mountains, and it moved whenever they were driven out of it. And they held an argument. Kitabatake Chikafusa wrote a history of the imperial line to prove the southern claim, composing it, by tradition, inside a fortress under siege in the east. Legitimacy had become something you wrote down and defended. The Southern Court retook Kyoto 3 times. In 1352, they held it for about 3 weeks, and when they withdrew, they took the northern emperors with them as prisoners, which left Kyoto with a problem. To enthrone a new northern emperor, they needed the regalia, which were in Yoshino, and a retired emperor to confirm him, and every candidate for that was also in Yoshino. They enthroned him anyway. A grandmother of the imperial house stood in for the retired emperor, and the ceremony went ahead without the sacred objects. It worked. Everybody accepted it. And everybody had now seen that the ritual could be improvised. What is often missed is that this is the real discovery of the whole war. Legitimacy was not a thing you held. It was a thing people agreed to. By the 1380s, the Southern Court held little more than mountains. The third Ashikaga shogun, Yoshimitsu, ended the split with an offer rather than an army. In 1392, the southern emperor walked out of Yoshino to Kyoto and handed the regalia back. The terms were that the two lines would alternate the throne again, the way they had before the split. Yoshimitsu got what he wanted, one court in his city, inside his own government. The promise was to alternate. It was broken. When the throne next changed hands, it stayed exactly where it was, more from Nihon Chronicles. For over 50 years, two men held the same title, in the same country, at the same time. And for over 50 years, nobody could say which one was real.